Hey everybody, so this video is going to be a bit of a longer one, but basically I'm going to be dropping a bunch of knowledge on everybody, right? Everybody that watches this. And I'm going to break down exactly how I got my client, Steven, into fantastic shape. Now, once you watch this whole thing, you'll understand how all these people were able to do this in such a small amount of time, and I'll show you later in the video. But if you don't believe me, or if you have any doubts, just watch the video, listen to what I say for 1 week, and if you don't see results, throw it in the bin. Who cares, right? You can see results within the first week of doing this. Now, most people will be wondering, why am I even doing this? Now, the first reason is I genuinely want to help men get in fantastic shape. I've been doing it my entire life, right? When I mean my entire life, I mean like since like 13, I've been working out, trying to help people out. Well, I mean, obviously back then I wouldn't be helping people out, but you understand what I'm saying, right? And I truly believe that if I help as many people as possible, provide as much value to people as possible, one, they'll see me as a credible source, and two, they'll be inclined to work with me, right? So a bit selfish, but I'm completely transparent with this. I've got nothing to hide. I'm giving you information, hoping you use it so you see unreal results within a few weeks, see me as a credible source of information, or even want to work with me. So enough wasting time, let's get straight into it. Okay guys, let's get straight into this. So this is for any men above the age of 21, specifically skinny fat, to pack on lean muscle, lose at least 10% of their body weight, and to unlock abs and keep it forever in 180 days or less using my impossible to fuck up system. Or our clients get a full refund with no rebound weight, no more than 5 hours in the gym, while still enjoying your favorite foods. So let's get right into this. Here we are with some of my favorite transformations. So before we go any further, my name is Dinal, and I'm going to show you exactly how I help my client Steven lose 10 kilos of fat and pack on 5 kilos of muscle within 180 days, while still achieving the jacked look a lot of men desire. Before we dive into this, and how we actually achieve this look, I want to show what he looked like before and after. So here's a picture of him before, looking like a loser, and look at him in this picture, looking like Superman, right? So let's see how we did it. So let me just break down exactly who this is for. If you're looking to lose 10 to 20 kilos of fat that you won't put back on and pack on a new frame of muscle to look jacked forever, this is for you. And when I mean forever, I mean forever. Once you achieve this jacked look, it's very hard to lose it. Unless you, of course, don't train for ages, do all that. It's very hard to lose, right? If you're feeling lost when it comes to getting ripped and need a simple and proven method that you can fit into your busy lifestyle, making your life better, unlike most cookie cutter programs, this is for you. Most cookie cutter programs generally send you the other way. They're all the same garbage, just repeated over and over again. If you feel like you've tried everything and you still don't have the physique you've always dreamt of, this is for you. If you know you have the potential to be the best version of yourself, but you need the guidance and accountability to get you there, this is for you. If you're willing to put aside 4 to 5 hours a week in the gym to get jacked and stay jacked, key part, stay jacked, stay ripped, whatever you want to call it, this is for you. And who this is not for, if you want to keep trying the traditional method that's been holding you back for years instead of trying a new proven system, this is not for you. If you're looking for a quick fix and you don't want a proven system to stay ripped for the rest of your life, this is not for you. If you're not ready to allocate 4 to 5 hours a week towards the gym, this is not for you. Most of us spend a couple hours every night on Netflix, on our phones, whatever. Most of us have full-time jobs. I've got a full-time job. I've still got an hour a day for the gym, right? If you do not believe that you can become the ultimate version of yourself, this is not for you. If you're lazy and you don't have the ability to push for greater things, this is not for you. So here's the truth about getting ripped no one will tell you about. Almost everybody have the capability to get ripped without giving up your favorite foods and without spending hours in the gym and keep it forever, right? I literally just ate 3 packs of HSP the other day. It's really not that hard. And most men aren't capable of doing because they don't understand how to eat the proper nutrition. Most men don't even know what nutrition is. Efficiently train in the gym, you go around there thinking you're doing something by throwing around some weight. You're not doing jack, right? And most of them don't use the impossible to fuck up system and instead look for a quick fix approach. But don't worry, I'm not about to let that happen to you, because obviously if you're watching this video, you're smart enough to not fall into that same trap and look for something new, because either it clearly hasn't worked for you, or you just heard about me making it work for other people. There is no such thing as I don't have time or that won't work for me. You don't have to work out for hours. You don't have to have superhuman genetics to be the ultimate man you're supposed to be. It doesn't require superhuman genetics. It really doesn't. Most of these guys, if you looked at the before pictures, you wouldn't even know that they had the capability in them. And if you want to be that guy, I'll show you exactly how to navigate through these issues that we mentioned above. I've been doing this for half a decade. I've ran into all of them. And also how I helped my client Steven look so good, started to get compliments from family, friends, co-workers. People honestly couldn't even recognize him anymore. How to lose 10% of your body weight while packing on lean muscle, and how to do all this while eating your favorite food and spending only 4 to 5 hours in the gym. I highlight this a lot because a lot of people think that you have to live a completely different lifestyle, right? You can just fit it into yours that you're already doing. Now, in case you don't know me, here's a brief backstory of how I got here. For half a decade, I have been mastering this formula to help men get the body they have always wanted. Now, my stats are 6'1", 85 kilos, 190 pounds where you're watching this, with abs, and I know how to get jacked and stay jacked, right? Stay jacked. Extremely passionate about this lifestyle because it is the key to unlocking the highest potential as a man. And I know most men saw very little to no results with the bulk and cut method, zero carbs keto method. And if they did get results from that, it was usually temporary. Most people go on the keto diet within a month after they hop off, they're back to how they were. Now, I was also constantly told when I was younger I didn't have the genetics because I'm from a South Asian background. South Asian people don't have the genetics, right? I was always bullied for being skinny and weak, and which led me to create this impossible to fuck up system. My friend gave me the inspiration for that name. Sounds pretty good. But here's the exhibit A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Right? I know what I'm talking about. And forget your genetics or any limiting beliefs. This was me when I was younger, looking like a fucking stick figure, man. I don't even know. Right? 17. I think that was 16, just looking like shit. The impossible to fuck up system is my playbook I built through my own trial and error from over half a decade of learning and training men to get their most ripped physique and showing them how to keep it forever. And now I've decided to break it down for you. Here are a few of my favorite client transformations. In the following steps, I'll outline the entire process A to Z of what I did to accomplish these results, so you can use the impossible to fuck up system to pack on lean muscle, lose at least 10% of your body weight, to unlock abs, and keep it forever in 180 days or less. So, the simple blueprint. This system is broken down into two phases, the grounding phase and the ascension phase. The grounding phase is a 90 to 120 day leaning out phase. Higher reps, higher volume, and low food intake. When I mean low food intake, just a little bit longer than what most of you fat fucks are eating. And two, the ascension phase. 60 to a 90 day lean bulk phase. Low rep ranges and moderate volume, right? And higher food intake. Both phases are made up of 3 guidelines: what to do for training, what to do for nutrition, and what to do for recovery. So here's how I optimized each part of this system and implemented it into Steven's life so that he was able to finally get the ripped body he was always wanted. So the guidelines. So training. Now, with training, there's many principles. The main ones we're going to talk about is intensity. So what weight you're using, what reps you're using, and how much rest you have in between each set. Pretty self-explanatory. When you go in, you work out with moderate weight, but I'll break this down for what we did for phase 1 and for phase 2. Form, how much force we are able to put into the form, the loss of form, which I fully believe is one of the most crucial parts, as much as it is to hold the form, right, and use as much form as we can to hold it, right? The loss of form is a key to actually growing. And also, partial reps, that's just half, but you can't really do half. So at the end of every set, stretching your muscle out as much as possible, moving it through the last few, reps, squeezing everything out, right? Going to true failure. The second part is selection. So what split you're using, what body parts you're training every week, right? How many times a week you're training it. Basic things like that, right? The exercise choice you pick, are you doing compounds? Are you doing isolation exercises? Are we, bench pressing 6 times a week? What are we doing, right? The sets and reps that you would use for each of these exercises. Because not every exercise is the same, not every exercise you can do the same amount of reps for, nor can you do the same amount of sets for. A set of deadlifts cook you and your nervous system up. A set of pull ups really won't do anything, right? And cardio, 30 minutes walks every day, right? Every other day. Every day you go to the gym, preferably 3 to 4 times a week. But on the cutting phase, which is phase one, we did it every single day. And also injury prevention, which a lot of people don't talk about. Injury prevention is one of the key parts that keep this going, because if you don't prevent injuries, you lose progress. Nutrition, macros, the basics, carbs, proteins, and fats. For phase one, we mainly focused on proteins and fats. Carbs was an afterthought. Meal selection, what kind of foods you can eat, meal timing, and cheat meals, and the frequency of cheat meals, obviously. So, what do I mean by macros, right? How much protein we're supposed to be getting in a day, how much carbs we're getting in a day. Food is the most important part of changing your look. And if you don't alter and figure out exactly what's right for you, it won't work. Meal selection. We can get 50 grams of protein from a high quality steak like here, or we can get 50 grams of protein from like 2 Big Macs. They're not the same thing, right? Meal timing. Now, how often we eat, what times we eat, those are very crucial, because during a cutting phase, if we eat very early in the morning, get out all our calories very, very early in the morning, we won't have enough, calories left in the day to actually, have a good night's sleep, and it affects the next day, which affects the next day. So the time in which we eat the food is very important, because eating very close to your sleep is also terrible for your digestion. Now, cheat meals, how often we're having cheat meals, because every meal can't be a cheat meal, obviously, otherwise we lose all the progress we made. Now, recovery was the same for both phases. Sleep quality, we made a small little sleep routine. Rest days, which is the frequency of rest days we have a week, and active recovery, which is doing some sort of physical activity during your rest days. Doesn't have to be working out. It can be simple as, taking your dog on a walk, or simple as that, right? Now, what is the sleep routine we made? So we turned off all devices and screens 1 hour before going to sleep, right? We stopped eating 2 hours before going to sleep. Third thing we did was we made the room as pitch black as possible, no light, no nothing, and we set the aircon on. Our bodies sleep a lot better in colder temperatures, and I don't mean freeze. Rest days, we worked out 4 days a week for both phases, 3 rest days a week. And on all of those rest days, we had perfect sleep. Now, so the grounding phase, day 0 to 90. The grounding phase training. So max effort, higher reps, 10 to 20 reps. What do I mean by this? What I mean is we were trying to get to the point of failing or pushing the muscle to the very limit at 10 to 20 reps, within that range, right? We're first getting into training. Stephen had never trained before, right? So we wanted to get the body adapting to this new way of training, right? So we couldn't put him under extreme load yet. So moderate weight, what he could handle for 10 to 20 reps. We obviously put more training volume, more sets, more reps, really get him pumping the muscle, like, building a great mind muscle connection. Most people don't emphasize how important that is, because if we don't work the muscle, we're really just going through the movement, right? And he followed the impossible to fuck up systems guidelines on form selection, and the intensity. There is a way to do this, and you have to make so basically you have to keep the form for as long as you can on whichever exercise you pick, right? Keep the intensity as high as possible, and once we get to the almost failing point, you can't do anymore, you stretch the muscle out. For example, if I was doing a bench press, you stretch the muscle out and you start doing like half reps, right, at the very bottom, as much as you can before your muscles just cook. It's done, right? We wanted him to adapt to the volume, find his baseline strength, and maintain muscle, which was the goal of phase one. Now, it looks like he just, packed on a shit ton of muscle, but actually, the first one, he weighed around 85. This one here, he weighed around 76 off the top of my head, something like that. Dropped, 8 to 9 kilos, right? While building a little bit of muscle, right? I know I say a little bit, but it looks like a lot. But trust me, the second phase is completely different. Nutrition. From day 7 to 14, we found the maintenance levels of macros. We did not starve him, we did not throw too many changing variables, we just tweaked things here and there, and we found out that his body responded best to 180 grams of protein, 250 grams of carbs, 75 grams of fat. This was to maintain his body weight, right? And so from day 14 to 90, we adjusted the macros to lose body fat and overall deplete his body and reach like a sponge like state. What do I mean by a sponge like state? A state where our body is almost yearning for nutrients. We don't have to starve it to get to this point. We just need to, lower what we would eat on most days. Just eat less than that, right? Which is what we did here. We ate 175 grams of protein, 150 grams of carbs, and 50 grams of fat. So once we take away what our body wants, our body starts to become very sensitive to food, right? So we put a little bit of food, we instantly gain weight, right? That's the point we want him to get to. And we geared this like first phase of nutrition to lose all excess body fat. As you can see here, no abs, no chest striations, you can't see any veins. To veins, chest striations, and also abs here. And adapt to the new program. And cheat meals were always allowed 2 times a week. Now, these cheat meals were not just any sort of cheat meals. You couldn't just go and have bloody 4 HSPs and call it a day, right? Because that would ruin the progress. It was one cheat meal, and we had to track exactly how it is. Now, the ascension phase, which is going from day 90 to 180. Now, during this phase, max effort, lower rep range is 6 to 10 reps, and this is the phase which is so important. Once we deplete our body of nutrients and it's almost yearning for food and to get it in. Once we start training heavy, and I'll talk about the nutrition later, but once we start eating right, eating a lot of food, well, I mean, not a lot, right? But enough for our body to grow, it just explodes, as you can see here. This was in 3 months if we go before, from there to there in 3 months, right? We used a lot heavier weights, lower training volume, less sets and less reps. However, we kept the intensity just as high, pushing all the way to failure. So if he failed on like the 6th rep, he would do half reps up until 10, right? 4 half reps, just pushing it, right? Now, during this phase, the main goals were to reach max strength and intensity, set PRs on all exercises, grow as much as possible, right? Now, we've used the impossible to fuck up systems, guidelines on form, selection, intensity, just like before. The same selection of exercises which prevents all injuries, right? There's some exercises you can do which you just can't get injured on unless you're a bloody idiot. That's why it's impossible to fuck up. You can't fuck it up. And the intensity, because once you pick the right exercises, then you can really push it to the max. Those exercises where you can have the best stimulus to fatigue ratio, right? So you can absolutely push the muscle to the max without getting other parts fatigued. And I'll give you the perfect example of this, right? Squats is a great compound exercise. I've always done it. I've always loved it. But if our goal is to build the most muscle, the squat is very limiting because once we do a squat, our lower back is always going to be a limiting factor. Our quads are stronger than our lower back, right? And once our lower back gives up, our quads can't keep going because the lower back is a key part to the squat. However, if we do like a hack squat where the whole body is resting and the legs are the only things pushing, right? We can push our targeting muscle to the absolute brink of failure. We can keep pushing it because nothing else can stop it. It's just that, right? That's basic guideline on the selection with every muscle. For example, bent over row. So doing a bent over row where our lower back is not as strong as our upper back, right? Lower back is a very, small muscle. We use something like a chest supported bent over rows, right? By using that, our lower back was no longer a limiting factor and we can push the upper back to its absolute limits. Now, during the ascension phase, the nutrition, right? So from day 90 to 120, we took advantage of the sponge-like state where our body was hypersensitive to nutrients. We upped the protein, we upped the carbs, but not too much, right? Where our body just started to put on back on the fat. We slowly, increased a little bit. We went around 190 grams of protein, 200 grams of carbs, not pushing back up to where it was before. Before it was 250 grams of carbs. Nope. We kept it at 200-ish, right? And therefore his body started slowly soaking up the nutrients, because once it is in this sponge-like state, it is very, very easy to pack on muscle, right? During day 120 to 180, we slowly increase the macros over this period, just enough to fill out his physique with zero fat gain, right? So if you look at this physique here, there is less fat than he had before, right? He's still just as lean, but with around 5 kilos more of muscle, right? And this phase was geared towards reaching his normal level of macronutrients, which we went over before, which was his maintenance levels. Macro intake with functioning metabolism and without storing fat. And cheat meals once again were allowed 2 times a week. I know even in the bulking phase, 2 times a week seems a lot, like really little, but it's enough for you to enjoy, a night out with your family. And once again, once we get into this state, once we get to day 180, it is impossible to lose this as long as you are able to maintain it, which is relatively easy. 2 cheat meals a week. Now, the impossible to fuck up system is meant to strip away the unnecessary body fat you're holding onto and rebuild your physique to a full and muscular frame in 180 days or less. For Steven, the results were so worth it. It was so good having abs, getting compliments from everybody, right? It almost became overwhelming. He never wanted to stop. The goal of this is for after this program to just go on by yourself. You should have the knowledge to continue to maintain this or even grow if you choose to, right? He still goes today, he's still got the same shape, and it becomes the base for any man to finally get into the great shape and stay in shape for good. Now, if you understand exactly how this process works, I have an offer for you. If you're a skinny or skinny fat individual, above the age of 21 preferably, overweight, sick of not having the physique you want, and you're genuinely ready, like you're genuinely ready to go, and you're ready to change how you look great with your shirt off, because you might be uncomfortable taking it off, you might not look the way you want, you might not be feeling confident, right? And make the most physical progress you've ever had in your entire life, right? And you want to look like these transformations here. You want to be the next one of these, right? Just go from, below average individual to superhuman, right? I have an offer for you. And my offer is skinny fat men, pack on lean muscle, lose at least 10% of your body weight to unlock abs and keep it forever in 180 days or less, using my impossible to fuck up system, or you don't pay. The reason I'm making this offer is because there are a lot of obstacles that most of you will run into. When you're going through this process, there is a lot of obstacles, and 180 days or less is the claim I make because I know how to get through all of these obstacles, and I genuinely want to help you out with this. And if this is something that you want, that interests you, and you want to make the most physical progress, you want to make the most drastic change in under 6 months, in under 180 days, right? Book a call with me on the link below, right? I'll give you details, and I'll see if you're a good fit for this program.